Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of our consciousness evolution system. Last week, we dealt with our guide through the third dimension. I'd like to go through some of the scriptures, the books that I've used to really put this all together and put this series together. Along with those books, guides, and spiritual inputs, I've been able to create that system we went through last week. And this week, what I like to do is go through two things. One, I'll go through the books that I've used and some of the questions that I'd like to pose for that. I know it's not easy for us to just throw off all the things that we have been taught and to say, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna go with what this random guy on YouTube is saying, or you may actually know me in person. But it's hard to just say I am gonna take it. Now, for some people, it might speak to you because this is something that you may have felt, and so it's a validation. So most of us have gone through the Christian Bible, and we know exactly what that is because that's what we grew up with. But here are some books that I believe will be of great interest to you in understanding more about what this series is all about. So one of the first ones that I read was this one. It's the Kybalion. The Kybalion has the 7 Hermetic principles, and I have done a video on that one. One of the other ones that I've read is this one, the Emerald Tablet of Thoth. The Emerald Tablet of Thoth has the 13 emerald tablets, or let me rephrase that, it's the 10 emerald tablets, but it's divided into 13 books. Both of those books are actually older than the Bible. One of the other ones that I have read, actually, this one I am reading as I go through, and it lines up pretty well with the process we went through last week. This one is the Corpus Hermeticum by none other than Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes is the other part of Thoth, and Hermes is considered thrice great. One of the other ones that I've read, or I am also reading, is this one. It's the Lankavatara Sutra. Again, as this is a worldwide process, I've also read the Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita. Now, as we read the Bible, there are certain, what you would call, esoteric information that's in the Bible. You can read the Bible literally, you can read it literarily, or you can read it allegorically. The allegorical reading of the Bible is where the esoteric reading comes in. And so when you're reading it from an allegorical standpoint, you need to know what certain words mean. This is why I have the Esoterical Bible Dictionary. In here, it gives you the meaning, the underlying meaning of what some of the words are. Did you know that there's a difference between the word Aaron and Moses? Aaron is the concrete mind within most of us. Aaron, in contrast to Moses, who could be said to represent the abstract mind. Think about that. One of the books from a philosopher that I have studied is this one from Manly P. Hall. It's The Occult Anatomy of Man. Really interesting. And just for grins and giggles, how about magic? I was almost done Until I said, maybe I should throw this one in there as well. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. With everything that we do in life, we're always looking at multiple things across the board in order for us to determine what it is that we believe in. But then there is this one thing where we take just one book that was put together at some point in time and decide that that is going to be it. And if that's the case, why is it that everything else from all over the world is wrong? And so that's where I'm coming from with this universal spiritual quest. And so I'd like you to come along with me, along with the understandings from all these different books. And I'm telling you, not just the books, but being able to have my mind open and information downloaded as to what is going to happen and where we are. So welcome to that journey, and we will be going through more things from those books later on. As we trace our soul's journey through all these sacred traditions, we find it's not contradictory at all, but convergence. Each text offers a different language, but they are the same offering to awaken the divine within. So in going through this, what are some of the main questions that we can ask that we need to find out how they're represented across all these different cultures? What it is that Christianity says about it, what it is that Hinduism says about it, the Hermetic principle. Didn't bring one in here about shamanism, but also we'll sprinkle in shamanism every now and again, and some of the other ones. One of the first questions that comes to mind is the idea of the individual one. There's this one person that all cultures point to. This one person is either, in some context, outside of us, and in some context, inside of us. Or is that really the case? Is this person always referred to as being in one place, but it's our interpretation of that divine being? And that divine being is, from a Christian perspective, who is God. Others will call this individual nous, or logos, or mind, or yes, even self. In the Bible, we hear, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So, word, or something we say, seems to be the first part. Other cultures will call it logos, means the same thing. It's the word. Another one for God is nous, N-O-U-S-E. And then we have it also as the mind and self. The interesting thing is, across all these different cultures, they point to really one place, and that's inside of us. Because even in the Bible, it says, God is within you. This is a deity that we worship. Now, there is an esoteric meaning for worship. There's also an esoteric meaning for art. And both of those we will go through at another time. In the Corpus Hermeticum, the logos or nous is what God is presented as. In the Bhagavad Gita, that would be Krishna as the one that's God, or nous, or logos. And in the Upanishad, this is Brahman. we are Atman for the Upanishad. While in the Buddhist system, it's mind. Mind is also in the Hermetic principles. That's in the Kabbalion. That says all is mind. So as you see, this first one, which is to clear up this divine entity, we realize that across all cultures, they point to one thing, that divine entity is technically inside of us. And so while I'm going through this, you will recognize that I give the illustration of whatever we call that source, God, or logos, or mind, or nous, that I am referring to something that's inside of us that we are trying to remember to ascend. Now, what about this fall from grace, resurrection, rebirth, reincarnation? How is that represented across the different cultures? Let's take a look. In the Bible, it says, the fall was through disobedience. And that's represented by Adam. So the fall was through disobedience, represented by Adam. And the rise was represented by Christ. So here we have two separate representation of what the rise or the fall and rise is. Now, if you remember, just a pro tip as we went through the video from last week, where I showed we have the line of forgetfulness, and we went through the fall, and then we have the line of remembrance, where we are now going into the other side, where we have remembered, or we are trying to remember to get back to soul. That is really the representation between Adam and Christ. In the Hermetic principle, a fall is when the logos or nous fell in love with his creation. In the Bible, it does state about how God actually loved us. But the other part of it, where, hey, that was a part of the fall, wasn't really represented. And love, again, is one of those words that we will come back to because it has more than one meaning. Now, just so that you can find somewhere in the Bible that reference this, why don't we take a look at 1 Corinthians 15, verse 22. It says, and I quote, "As in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive." And if you've gone through the Hermetic book, here it says, man enters into the darkness of ignorance. That's the fall. In the Bhagavad Gita, it tells us, just as we cast off old garments and put on new ones, so shall the soul shed this old body and enter a new one. Wow, that sounds like a rebirth to me. Buddhism states that rebirth is driven by ignorance and attachment. So it's not the soul that sins, but it's the body. It's our emotion and our ego that is going through all this with us right now. Now that's there to protect us, and we can go into some of the other things with the ego later on. But as for now, let's put the ego aside. So the other question I had was, where is this deity? Is this deity outside of us or inside of us? And we sort of touched on that before when we spoke about God as the deity. Because we spoke about God as the deity, but we also said, okay, so where is this deity located? Is this someone that we should be fearful of? Is this someone that is an old man in the clouds? Is he or she, or androgynous, Let's get the gender right, or androgynous, somewhere else. What do all these different books say about that? Now, Luke 17, verse 21 says, the kingdom of God is within you. That's what the Christ that represents our rebirth actually said. Hermeticism says, the divine mind rests inside of you, not in stone temples. God is mind. To find him, turn inward. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, I am seated in the heart of all being. In the heart of all being. That's where God is. That's where your deity lies. The Lankavatara Sutra, or Lankavatara Sutra, says the same thing. Listen to this. It says, seek within, not without, for the source is mind only. So, from every angle, the message is clear. The divine is within you. So what does this mean, really? And I think this is one of the places that I had some confusion with, because I was taught that heaven was above, hell was below. So to me, I know the earth is round. I'm like, okay, which means that someone's heaven is going to be another person's hell. Now, does it mean that hell is always in the middle of the earth? So all the below will point into the middle of the earth, wherever you are on the earth. Okay, and so all the heavens will be all around us, and so it's just heaven all around. Or is this really something that is inside of us? Because I see a lot of people represent things on the outside, but then the inside is different. So one of the things I will go through later on is the difference between spirituality and religion. I'll also like to say that if it becomes either overwhelming or challenging, and you'd like to reach out to have personal one-on-one on how this really affects you as an individual, please do so. Reach out so we can be of help in any way we can with this, because your individual way of processing this information is really different from anyone else. As much as I try to give the information and let it be general and a general information for everyone, the way in which you are going to apply this into your life will be a little different. And so you might need some specific information or specific understanding on what certain things really mean. So please be sure to reach out so we can continue that part of the conversation. Also, I'll be going to Ecuador to celebrate the fall equinox this September 20th till the 25th. In the description below, I'll have all the information on that as to where we are going, what we're going to be doing. And so if you want to join us, I would really love to see you there. So head down in the description below and it will give you all the information on what's going on for this Ecuador trip to celebrate the fall equinox. Now back to the video. So here is my next question. What is our relationship to the cosmos? Now, most times when we hear the word cosmos, where do we look? In the heavens, in the clouds, the cosmos, it's all around us. Well, what do the scriptures say? What do these sacred texts say about man's relation to the cosmos? In Genesis, it says man is made of God's image and is given dominion over earth. But that dominion is not conquest. It is stewardship. In Hermeticism, it says man is a microcosm of the macrocosm. And though will say that, I think it's his second one of his principle. It says it's a law of correspondence. So it is outside, so it is on the inside. So it is above, so it is below. The Gita says all this is pervaded by me, the manifested and the unmanifested. Manifest means what we bring to this reality. Unmanifested means it ain't here yet. Here's an interesting one from the Upanishad. That which is the finest essence, this whole world has that as itself. Seems to be saying that everything is in one, and one has everything. We'll see. The Lankavatara, it says, the world is not separate from the mind. The 10,000s of things that we have around us is a projection. Think about that. If something is not of nature and it was created by man, it was actually created by mind first. But man was also created by mind first. There is an external and an internal. We're still dealing with the cosmos. And what does this have to do with it? All the different books and all the different cultures explain it a little differently for us. And so across the different ones, when you put them together, we realize something. We realize that we're talking about things that are outside along with things that are inside. And both the inside and the outside are a mirror of each other. So God is inside of us. There is a universe inside and a universe outside. Man is given dominion over the universe, which means we're given dominion over the universe inside and the universe outside. Which the universe inside has to do with your 4 states of health, and one of them has to do with your corporeal being, and the other one has to do with what you take in, which is nutrition, right? That's chemical health. Let's move on to the final question. So I wanted to find out, what is it about punishment or forgiveness? Okay? Because most of us seem to worship because we believe if we don't worship, we're going to be punished and we're not going to be forgiven. The Bible, of course, speaks of divine justice and mercy. In Hermeticism, it does say that the only true sin is ignorance. And knowledge is our redemption. Knowledge is our redemption. But you know what is really our catalyst for ascension? Is action. It's what we do with that knowledge. In book 5 of the Corpus Hermeticum, it says, the vice of the soul is ignorance. And if you think about, even in Christianity, our ignorance or us explaining away the things that we do, that's really what the sin is. Like, you'll hear people, they will do things or they will say things and then they explain it away in a certain way that makes them seem to be doing the right thing. And a lot has been done in the name of God, and a lot of atrocities have been committed in the name of God. We have a lot of things that have been done in the past that for right now people would get persecuted for. Did right or wrong change? Or did we realize that it was wrong in the first place? What are we doing right now that we consider right that will be shown to be wrong later on? The Bhagavad Gita talks about karma and dharma. So it says, as the blazing fire reduces wood to ash, so does knowledge burns all karma. The Upanishad says there's no punishment, just delayed realization. In the Lankavatara Sutra, it actually replaces the word punishment with compassionate understanding. It's no punishment. It says the wise do not blame if they awaken. So true spiritual systems point us towards growth. Forgiveness is the return to remembrance, and punishment is the shadow of ignorance. And we are forgiven when we remember. So hopefully going through these different spiritual texts and also answering some really profound question on the foundation that we are requiring in order to have a universal concept of spirituality, you were able to learn a few different things. I encourage you to sit with it for a little while, maybe meditate, just let it sink in, breathe through what you have heard. This is a lot to unpack, especially for those of us who have never really tried to merge all these different systems together. One of the things I would like for you to take from this is the realization that all these different cultures and all these different texts say the same thing. They say it in different languages. They may say it in different contexts. Some are read literally, some are read literarily, and others are allegorically. Let's see if we can strip away some of the underlying meaning and get to the root of all these different texts to recognize that they're saying the exact same thing, and that humanity needs to come together in order to survive and work through this conquest that we are trying to embrace in this new age. We're not so much different. We're more similar than we think. Okay, guys, as always, thanks for walking this path with me. And if any of this resonates with you, please be sure to give this video a like. If it resonates with you and there are other people that you think could benefit from something like this, please go ahead and share. I would love to hear from you. What are some of the things that stood out to you? What are some of the things that you may have, controversial opinions on, or anything like that? Please go ahead and comment on what it is that resonates with you or does not resonate with you. I would love to hear from you in that regard. Also, if you haven't done so, subscribe. When you do, hit the notification bell so that you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Until next time, come visit me in the next video on this series, or go ahead and take a look at some of the other videos that are on our channel. Bye.